You're listening to Mondays Unfiltered, the podcast for anyone who's accepted that work is inevitably work. We're your hosts, Heather and Kristin. We break down burnout, baffling policies, and corporate chaos with dry humor and real solutions. Grab your coffee and whatever optimism survived the weekend, Mondays have begun. A little about us. Chris spent decades helping executives shape brands and craft messages that inspire, and I built systems that actually made those visions work behind the scenes and kept people from falling apart in the process. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey,
Hey, we're
Heather.
back. Another week has gone by. Hey,
Mondays
Chris.
always come around
I'm so
so
happy to see you.
quickly. Yeah, I think we
I
still
love
have
it
this.
though. I look forward to it.
I do too. I do too. I love what we talk about. I think it has real
Hmm.
relevancy for people.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
Yeah.
so should we just dive in? I can tell you what
Yeah,
we'll talk
please.
about today.
Let me
Cool.
know what you
Okay.
found. What did you find?
What did I find? I know I have so much fun doing this content. So we are talking about, I think a lot of our viewers could relate to this, older workers. So this is an AARP study, and I can't remember where the other study, I have two studies to talk about today.
Okay.
64% of American workers over the age of 50, 64% are reporting that they have experienced age bias on the job,
Mm.
according to AARP. Another survey said that through 2024 and 2025, 22% of workers felt like they were being pushed out of their job.
Mhm.
And I think that's for age bias. So I think we
I know of
know
people. I know of people that I've worked with over the past year that have gone through it.
it's terrible. And I think there's even more of a sensitivity because there's a lot more layoffs
Hmm.
and a lot fewer jobs are hiring
Well,
right
and it can
now.
be hidden in there within other people being laid off. They can age out workers and get away with it. And then it looks more like a reorganization, which we've talked about. You've gone through a lot of reorganizations. Um, but then it can fall into this other category rather than individualizing someone. You can get rid of a few different roles, reorganize, and not have to offer people alternative roles within the organization.
Right. Exactly. I mean, a lot are going through your organizations, and we can talk a lot about that. I've been, even starting at AOL, and when I did, I think they were always reorging every 6 months,
Wow.
and I was much. Oh yeah, we
That's gotta
reorged.
be terrifying. Like, just not, okay, here's another 6 months. I might be on the chopping block.
I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but yeah, we reorged all the time.
Wow.
The thing was, is you pretty much had your job all the time. It was just how you were reporting or how you were doing a
Oh, yeah,
job, or if
yeah.
there were lines, if you were reporting up to a business or a function. That
Mm,
was very common. Like, are you
yeah.
now a function, or are you now reporting up to the P&L of the business? Which to me, the function thing didn't work because, you know, I wasn't a designer, but a group of designers that just report to a group of designers that don't
Mm,
really report to a business. Like, it just doesn't, you don't have the same investment in it. But
mm.
so today's movie quote, let's see if you can guess this, because I think it comes from a movie that you liked. And it's very simple. Experience never gets old.
Yeah, I just watched that movie recently, The Intern with Robert De Niro. And I had seen it before, but when it popped up on my feed, I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch that again. And it was enjoyable from the perspective of I've been helping a lot of, I'll say in my age bracket, older, experienced workers,
Mhm.
50 and above, reposition themselves. And that's what he did in that role.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess we're kind of. I don't think of myself. I don't certainly don't think of you as older at all.
I know. That's why I used quotes. I'm not really
Right.
old.
I know. I was just doubling down on that. Like, I agree with you because it's just so funny because you get to a certain point in your life and you know what you like to do.
Hmm.
You know what you're good at. You're not, we just kind of had side conversation before we started this recording about what you and I don't like to do, which
Hmm.
is post social media, but we design strategies,
Hmm.
right? We'll design promotional strategies, things like that, but sales strategies. Um, you've seen things, you've done things, you've worked in a lot of different roles. You have a really good sense of people for the most part, right?
Mhm.
As having experience. And I don't like calling them older workers. I call them experienced
Experienced
workers.
workers.
And for me, there's a lot of joy in work now. You
Mm.
know, have my own
I like what I
business,
do
but
now.
yeah, yeah, there's a lot of joy in it. And um, maybe it is because I have my own consultancy,
Right.
but
Right.
it's a lot different. And it's just, why wouldn't you want somebody that's seasoned or experienced,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, and we're not getting into, gender things today, but I do see a lot of my former colleagues that are older men
Hmm.
that are still thriving.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Agreed.
if that's a woman-man thing. That's not our
Yeah,
subject today.
that's a really interesting perspective. I didn't think of that, but pretty much everyone I've spoken to recently that has been laid off and is struggling to get back into the workforce is a woman.
Really. Well, maybe we'll cover that another time.
Another time. This is just about
Yeah.
age in general. And I think really the best positioning that I can offer as someone who coaches on career development and reimagination of your role, because I've done it so many times in my career,
Well,
is
wait, hold that thought 1 second,
okay.
because
Okay.
we're gonna talk about the myth.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because the myth, like I think you're talking about busting that a myth, right? So
Yeah.
the myth
Agreed.
is there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. I agree that that is absolutely a myth because you can utilize your transferable skills, which is just identifying what you know and how it can be repositioned into something else. So I spoke to someone recently that had chosen to leave the role because she didn't enjoy it anymore. So she had a long career in like office support of a manufacturing and distribution group, so like working from the warehouse and being dispatch and working with clients in that aspect. Chose to leave it to get a license as a CDL driver, drove for UPS, decided that's not where she wants to retire from, but she does want to go back to work and didn't know how to go about it. So when I talked to her, she said she really liked working with customers. She liked sales, and she didn't really know how to go about it. So I repositioned her resume to represent the strong customer service and account management experience that she had from her previous roles, just using different terminology. And we had a really great discussion on how she can reintroduce herself from this new aspect, and she was really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean that's such a good point, because the example we had today, and I think the reason why the subject came up is because I came across, I think it was last end of last week, an article that was really initially heartbreaking, but I think the moral to the story is the same thing of what you just said, what you talked about with your client,
Hmm.
is this woman had worked for a company for over 20 years. I'll put a link to the article in the resources of at the bottom of the video, but she was passed over. She worked for the company for 20 years. She had been groomed for some sort of specific promotion and position, only to be passed over for that promotion in favor of a 25-year-old.
Hmm.
And add insult to injury, they asked her to please train her replacement, her 25-year-old replacement. And her point was, if I'm not good enough for the promotion, how can I train my replacement?
Right.
And so I guess there was I'll put I'll link to the article in the resources, but there was some back and forth, and she was stuck to her guns. And so she was managed out, mainly because she was told that she didn't have, imagine working for a company for 20 years, supporting that company, living and breathing that company, and being told that you're not a team player because you won't train your replacement, and then being laid off. She did negotiate herself a good package, and now she has a YouTube channel. I can't remember her name. She has a YouTube channel helping older workers,
Mhm.
you know.
Well, and talk about repositioning yourself, creating your own business out of a layoff.
That's making lemonade from lemon, right?
Right.
So another, we always like to look at kind of thought leadership and expert resources. So I wanted to hear what like SHRM said, which is the Society for Human Resources Management,
Hmm.
um, and what they advised companies to do. So what Heather was talking about and what this other woman was talking about is like, here's what people can do. We've got a couple more tips for that. So, what SHRM says is to combat this, you got to examine your policies, invest in training. And what I would say about the training thing is if you've got younger employees, keep that woman in place, have her train this person as she comes up. So that person's kind of ready when
Yeah.
that woman who gave her 20 years to that company is ready to retire or take on um, a less demanding role if that's what she decides to do.
Yeah, because you can
Um,
actually plan your retirement from that. Like you can request adjusted hours, you can request, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, Friday in preparation for your retirement. You can, I mean, that's called generational knowledge sharing in the SHRM world. Um, and there's a gap there. Like my husband was just telling me about a story today of someone who works with him, and he is 70 years old. And my husband said to him, like, you're taking so much knowledge with you when you retire, and that it's a
well,
shame.
I mean, I've heard a lot of industries say that they don't have workers to replace them. And I've heard that in a lot of like trades
Hmm.
is like plumbers and
Trades are
electricians.
very short right now on
They're
skilled
short
workers.
staffed. So if you're a person looking to do a career and you're good with your hands and you don't want to sit behind a desk,
Hmm.
look at trade school. But so let me finish this list. So it's empower experienced workers to lead projects and mentor newer to career.
Hmm.
Make sure you evaluate your practices for raises and promotions and examine hiring practices. This was a nuance that was so interesting to me. They mentioned sometimes recruiters who tend to be the younger folks, newer to career, right? So they're doing the recruiting and the HR function. Sometimes recruiters look for people who look like them versus evaluating skills.
Hmm.
And I think another reason why they would say, you know, make sure you're examining these policies because of age discrimination and lawsuits that could come out of them.
Right. And I have coached a lot of people when I do resume reviews. A, some of the older, experienced workers still have high school diplomas on their resumes because when we originally were doing resumes years and years ago, you put that on there. You put your college, you put the year that you graduated on to show that you graduated. But I'm like, get that out of there. First of all, you don't want them to know when you graduated. Even if it's a college degree, you don't want them to see when you graduated. Take that
I've
off.
never had the year
You
I
just, I've
graduated
seen it.
college.
Even this woman that I spoke to last week, she had her high school on there. I'm like, get that out of there. I would rather just have your trade school that you did the CDL, just show that you did the trade school. You don't need your high school on there. And also, I've also encouraged people to not put their home address or their city and town in because there's so much remote work now. You don't have to show where you reside because that can be discriminating as well. But in the age gap experience, like this woman that I was working with last week, she had history that went into the 80s. I was like, get that out of there. Only put in 10 years. And then if you have experience that's relevant to the role that you're applying to, you can put that under additional relevant information that you held this job at this other company, but also don't put the year that you did it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I have filled out some applications in the last year and the automated applications I think it's Greenway, something green, greenhouse.
Mm,
And they're like, what year did that? I was like, I don't even know. Like, cause some of the stuff that I did, even though I worked in data and technology solutions in the past 10 years, some of the digital marketing stuff before that is really relevant, especially with what I do with my consultancy. So I do keep some of that on there. And I was like, I don't even really remember. Thank God I have some history of my resumes. But
mhm.
I did there is a list that I have that on tips in addition to the great ones that you just mentioned. It sounds like people can reach out to you too if they need resume help.
It's one of
Um,
my favorite topics. I love talking about resumes.
So I have a list that let's see if this keeps relevant.
Okay.
Keep up your training and technical skills. So for
Hmm.
example, I just started a UC Berkeley School of Business certificate program in digital transformation. So my sister laughed at me and said, "You could probably teach it." I'm like, "Actually, probably not." But um, I did that because I wanted to see the frameworks that they were talking about, right? So, and it is talking about data, it's talking about AI, it's talking about, and the systems. So it's the people, the data, and the systems, which is kind of my nerdy place. Like that's what I get really into is because I had to deal with so many systems, and I'm digressing, and siloed organizations that were not working together. That's where I get really nerdy and go, okay, let's everybody start working together so you can have a project that actually works. So there are so many good like certificate programs. There's things you can do on Indeed, on LinkedIn Learning, etc. So there's easy ways to keep up your certifications
Hmm.
and add new skills. Establish yourself like Heather had a really good idea with her client. Establish yourself as an industry expert and or company expert, right? Um, Offer yourself as a mentor and a thought leader. Volunteer, and I did that, the last company I was at, I was a mentor. Volunteer for extra projects or to lead projects. Keep up your networking. I, I think we get so comfortable in our day to day, here's our job, that we forget we need to do all those things
Hmm.
that helped us build our careers. So keep up your networking. Plus, it's fun. Develop an exit strategy if necessary. That includes setting yourself up as an industry expert and a consultant. That's why networking is so important.
Hmm.
And then succession planning. I think you talked about that
Yes.
just a second ago. You touched on that cross generational knowledge planning.
Hmm.
Um, so definitely don't fall into the trap that older workers, like the class that I was just telling you about, the certification course that I'm taking, there are a lot of experienced people in there. Like I'm super excited about learning from my cohort as I am learning from the professors.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think you touched on it, Heather, really well, is that, the knowledge base goes away.
Hmm. Yeah. And something else that wasn't in that list that it kind of is, but it didn't specifically say it, where you can position yourself as the expert is on a board of directors. So
Oh,
like even this one, I'm going to a board event today for Boys and Girls Club. I'm bringing with me the knowledge of my office information and also the mentoring aspect. So I'm bringing that into the organization. There's so many boards out there that need experienced knowledge to help them progress to the next level. And some of the board positions even pay you.
that's what I would love to have. But no, I just had somebody ask me they're starting a mentor program for young women, high school through college. And it doesn't mean they have to have college. They could be going to trade school, they could be just whatever. So she's doing a mentoring program. She's doing a nonprofit for mentoring. So she just said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about being on the board because I need somebody with marketing expertise."
Yeah, but they're looking for that. I
Uh-huh.
mean, the role that I have at Boys and Girls Club is secretary. Well, I did it for 30 years. I can do it here.
Yeah, yeah. So again, Heather and I did this. We talk about some of the challenges in workplaces. which is, human based, right? And we also want to give people a little bit of hope, right? And our goal is to say, hey, if the current paradigm isn't working for you, create a new paradigm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And bust that myth that there's nothing that you can do about it because you're 63 and you're going to retire in 2 years. Can you just write it out? There's a million things that you can do to keep moving forward and not be negated or pushed aside. You're not, garbage for tomorrow. Get back out
No,
there. Reposition
right,
yourself.
right. There's somebody that needs your expertise.
Absolutely.
So awesome. Good segment.
Oh my gosh, I could talk about this forever, but thanks for listening today.
Yes. And write us in mondaysunfiltered@gmail.com if you've got any challenges, if you want to share anything, if you want us to cover any subjects, you want to pile on, you want to grouse. We would definitely want to hear your stories.
Yeah. So until next time,
Stay unfiltered.
thanks for joining.
That's it for this episode of Mondays Unfiltered. If something today made you laugh, think, cringe, or finally question the workplace norms you've been conditioned to accept, good. That's where change begins. If you enjoyed the conversation, hit subscribe, share the episode with someone who deserves a better Monday, and help us push the movement towards healthier, more human workplaces. And we want to hear your stories. The surprises, the successes, the dysfunction, the burnout, the breakthroughs, just send them our way. Your experience might shape a future episode. And remember, we can do better, we can be better, and we don't have to tolerate BS just because it feels familiar. Until next week, stay curious, stay courageous, and stay unfiltered.